Welcome to Jurassic Pod, a podcast 65 million years in the making. In this show, we excavate, theorize, and decipher the evolution of the Jurassic Park films and their fandom. We're back to discuss the many developments since we last chatted about the franchise in the spring. And apparently, Mike, they've filmed the whole thing already. So I feel like Lindsay Lohan in Parent Trap, you know, that where she goes to summer camp and then she's back and then her dad is engaged to Meredith Blake. But how are you feeling, Mike? How was your summer?
Yeah, I guess Whiplash now that I'm finding out that they've filmed this thing already. I'm glad that Daniel's with us today because this whole thing has like an air of JP3 going on with it.
Oh yes, it's apropos, and that's why he's here. And you have hinted at our guest. If you've never listened to this show, by the way, or if this is your first time hearing us talk about this franchise, welcome. You'll find out quickly that we are lovers, not experts, of this franchise, and we categorically claim not to be newsbreakers. We suggest you go to the Jurassic Park podcast for news, real time updates. We're just not that. We're definitely last to the news. We like to, we're almost like the Ken Burns. We're making the documentary. We're going deep way after the news happens. So
If we were a Twitter account, we would right now be tweeting about the Queen of England dying.
yes, exactly. We're somewhat delayed, but we're accurate. Somewhat accurate. We're more accurate, right? Right. And what we lack in relevance, we do make up in for love. So that goes a long way for the franchise and the people involved, the characters in the fandom. And you can actually go through the catalog of episodes where we break down each film. We do ranking episodes. We did a Jurassic draft, which is a fun re-listen, especially now that we have more details for this next film. And we do special interviews with Jurassic experts like our special guest today, because Mike, we cannot do this alone. It's Daniel from the Stuck on Sorna podcast, friend of the show. Welcome back.
Thank you for inviting me back on. I'm truly honored to be a part of this.
And there's so much good stuff to cover, and we're so happy to have you. Daniel, last time we chatted specifically about Jurassic, you came on Podcast Impossible to talk about Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I believe. But last time yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a while. We've been on a journey, friends. But last time we chatted about Jurassic specifically, it was a week after Dominion came out, and we had a lot of open-ended questions. I actually listened to it today while I was walking my dog, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just had no idea. Well, we just were like, both from a business and storyline standpoint, there was a lot of questions unanswered in the story after Dominion, and then from a business standpoint, we were like, we have no idea what's going to happen. Is this going to be a streaming show? Is like Universal going to merge with another production company? It was very open-ended, but here we are 2 years later, and we have a one-off post-Dominion film and a whole new cast. How are you feeling just overall, just with all this news coming out this summer?
Me, I'm. It's a great time to be a Jurassic Park fan. Really, I mean, I should have gone back and listened to that episode about Dominion because I like to think I was positive about the film.
You were to
Okay,
defend your past self. You're
okay,
very
good.
positive.
Because
I do have to say you wanted more Alan Grant content.
Alan Grant, don't get me started on that. That's a whole. We could talk for a couple hours on what they did to that character. I mean, the poor guy. I mean, no, I won't. I won't get going on that. But yeah, I mean, Dominion. I look back on it positively, but obviously where it ends, I'm sure at the time I'm thinking the next film, if they make a film, is going to be just dinosaurs everywhere still. Because we didn't really get to see dinosaurs truly taking over. I mean, you briefly did, but in Malta, but I'm guessing that kind of is that accurate? Like what I was expecting was more.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about how it's like they didn't answer all these questions. There's so many details about this world that we're living in, that the characters are living in, that the fans are in the storyline, that we just have no idea. How are the dinosaurs interacting with the world? How society function? I think specifically the end of the movie, I think we were both like, there's a dinosaur in the park and it's very relaxed, but it's like, no, the world would be a lot crazier. It would feel a lot more disruptive if that was happening, and we didn't get those answers.
We did not. Yeah, and I've thought a lot about that. I'm sure it's like you whenever a Jurassic Park movie's come out, I'm always like immediately guessing what's the next one going to be about, like anticipating what's happened in the time gap. And with Jurassic Park 3, 14 years between that and Jurassic World, I mean, I created movies in my head essentially, and it's never going to live up to what you want or expect. At least so far it hasn't. But I'm hoping with Rebirth that it kind of sets the bar for new sequels and kind of restores the faith in the Jurassic franchise for many people.
Yeah, it's a huge moment, and it feels like it has happened really fast. Because just re-listening to our conversation, we were really at a point of it could go anywhere, especially with that post-COVID. I mean, we're still dealing with it today, but the inflection point with media, specifically the streaming services and all those things, I think it was just fascinating to be like, oh, these guys were so concerned and like we didn't know anything, and then 2 years later we have a film. Like we're gonna have a film coming out next summer. And I think one of the reasons we got here so quickly, and we don't know the full behind the scenes, but when you sign a huge star on a film, it can move the project pretty quickly. I think it gets the finances done pretty quickly. And we have a huge star coming into the franchise, Scarlett Johansson. What I love her. I've loved her for a long time, but I'm not a super expert on her career because one of the reasons we have Daniel here is because of his knowledge and he's a beautiful person, but he is officially the Jurassic Pod Scarlett Johansson expert because you have actually interacted with her in person. Daniel, please tell this story of your Scarlett Johansson interaction.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and they shot some of the first Avengers film, and then Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier. So
Oh, by
I
the way, why aren't there more movies shot in Cleveland? Like, if those are movies that have been shot in Cleveland in the last 20 years, come on, baby, that is
well,
good quality.
I mean, this last summer they had the new Superman movie.
Oh, that's right.
James Gunn was here quite a bit, and me and my son went down to Public Square to try and get, try and see Superman, but we just saw some extras running around, but we
He
didn't
wasn't
really.
flying.
No, but I saw some like behind the scenes where they had him like on cables and there were explosions and
Did you see any like birds or planes that
so
maybe
many.
could
I
have
saw the
been?
speeding bullets. Well, hopefully not speeding bullets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Anyways, I interrupted you. Okay, so Cleveland is a
it's
hotbed of Hollywood.
occasionally it comes in like,
Underrated.
yeah, it can it can be multiple cities, right? It can be like the Detroit or New York City. It just depends how they want to shoot it. But not often is it actually Cleveland, which is kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. So yeah, so I worked on the first Avengers as a production assistant. Winter Soldier was 2013 production assistant, and a lot of my job as a PA was it's kind of nonsense sometimes. Like you're just it's nothing fancy. It's a lot of radio talking or block off streets or talk to the extras, help place the extras. Hey, run a hard drive over to this part of town, this part. They're filming two different locations, sometimes at the same time, right? So it's nonstop. But for Winter Soldier, for at least a week or two, I was at base camp where all the trailers are for the actors, makeup, costume. It's all in like one big parking lot, and I was the production assistant stationed there. So I had like a lot of one keeping people out. I'm a tough guy, so I say, hey,
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
come over here, get out
I
of
can
here.
see that bouncer
Send the
type.
cops over. Yeah. But other times it's just radioing stuff from set, like, hey, we need Chris Evans here. Where is he? So I got to knock on the trailer and say, hey, Chris, what's going on? Stuff like that. It
Not a
sounds
bad day. Not a
exciting,
bad day at the office, I do have to say.
but pretty nerve wracking and just I'm an introvert, but you kind of have to like break out of that bubble and use your tough guy voice, like, "Hey, Chris, get to set." Not really. That's not what I did, but I mean, a lot of the stuff was like Marvel Securious, like trying to keep like secrets.
Right.
So like we had Stan Lee there for his cameo, where at the end he's like a security guard. Um, and so when he came to set, like I had to stand with him at base camp for like an hour, holding an umbrella in front of him, like blocking any photographers from trying to like get a picture of him.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I mean, I had the chance to like be standing there with him, just talking about Marvel movies and how much he
Wow.
likes acting. Like he was I mean, he was probably late 80s. I'm not even sure how old he was, but I mean, very energetic, extremely nice, and just he expressed how much he loved acting, and he would tell them like, I want to do more. I can do so much more, like. But he was just having a ball. And I mean, it, I look back at like it was a great moment in my life just because I mean he's like, I didn't know why you were holding the umbrella sideways. I thought you didn't know what an umbrella was for. Because I wasn't holding it above him. It's like, no, I'm blocking. There's people trying to take pictures of you, that kind of thing. But so that was a lot of it. Like same with the Winter Soldier, Sebastian Stan. A lot of time with him, he had like the silver robotic arm.
Yes, that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
and we tried to keep that secret, made it like a day or two. And there were people
Yeah.
because there were like photographers up in like the Cleveland building just shooting
Yeah,
down.
with telephoto lenses,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
So
there's
it
nothing
was
you can
kind of
do.
pointless. But I mean, same with like Scarlett Johansson. There was a good amount of interaction, but I mean, she had her own, assistant like assigned to her, but I'd still have to like communicate with that person or say, hey, 5 minutes, or we're sending, I'm sending the car, or whatever you want to call it. It's been a while, but so that kind of communication. But I did share on social media the last time I interacted with her. Um, it could come off as like a negative story, but it's a positive because I mean I've always been a Scarlett fan. In 2001, I think it was, Lost in Translation came out
Mm-hmm.
around the same time Ghost World came out. And Ghost World, like, I just love that movie. It's just something like it just feels simple. And I think about movies that I like, Safety Not Guaranteed. I'm just like very small, lower budget movies, but just
Yeah.
great acting, great story. So I grew up, watching that kind of thing, and obviously seeing her in the Avengers. I mean, big fan. So, when on this particular day, like May 2013, it was 6 a.m. near Cleveland, Ohio. It's cold, pretty chilly. And they have like these food trucks where everyone gets their breakfast, and it's like they make it fresh right there for you. So you order your food, and then they have like a station where it's like hot water and tea and hot chocolate, like normal things people get for breakfast. But I just wanted hot water, so I got my hot water cup, filled it up, and stood back waiting for my food. And then Scarlett Johansson like steps out of a trailer, like hair and makeup, but she's like
Gosh.
normal. I mean, she still has like probably like sweatpants on, like
Yeah.
hair not done
It's
yet. It's
it's
very
it's
early.
again, early in the morning.
Yeah, but I mean, like that. It's a reminder to people. Like you see them on the big screen, they're all dressed up, hair, makeup. Like she could, she'd be, you could be walking on the street, see this person, and just think, oh, that's just a normal person. Like there's nothing. It's not the Scarlett Johansson you see in magazines, but um, so she walked on the steps, came over towards the food truck, and as a production assistant, told not to engage with people beyond like work
Yes.
related stuff because they might be in
Yes.
like their acting zone, or if I see Sam Jackson, like I'm not going to say, hey buddy, how you doing? Just let them talk to you. But no, she walked over and stood like a few feet from me, and I'm sipping my hot water, trying not to be weird. And she like rubs her hands and like blows on her hands because it's so cold and she's trying to warm up. And she looks over at me and says, ooh, what are you drinking? And I was like, oh man, I'm drinking hot water. And she just kind of looked away.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah. And that was the last time I talked to her. I mean, it must have been one of the last days, but like I remember very clearly, like that was a defining moment. Like after that, it didn't matter if we had a whole another month. It was just like you knew that
That was it.
that was it.
Hot water.
That
Yeah.
is awesome. That's an awesome
Oh, that's
story.
good.
Did
It would have
you,
been. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, did you in the moment think to yourself, before you said hot water, was there a million things that rushed through your mind? Like, should I lie about this? What should I say I'm
Oh
drinking?
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And then you think, well, what if I say it's like red zinger or yellow zinger tea or sleepy time? Um, but then in that, scenario in your head, you start thinking like, what's the best case scenario? She's like, oh, can I have a sip of that? Can I try it?
Oh,
You know? And then what do you do?
And then you lied. Like that's the sitcom is like, oh, this is
Right.
a special oolong tea that I import. And then, oh, really? I've been looking for that. And then
that would be so Costanza if that happened. Like,
that is a George Costanza moment.
you
That is
give her the
exactly what it is.
tea, she takes a sip, you go, that's just water. And you go,
Like, no, no, no.
oh my
That's the
gosh.
secret.
Oh
That's
my
the
gosh, you're
secret.
right. They gave me water.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I just assume I was extremely nervous. I mean,
That's
it's
so
early,
cool.
introvert. It's just weird situation.
you know what, you told the truth, and that's the most important thing. And you were being yourself, and I'm sure she appreciated it. You were trying not to be weird.
Definitely.
She definitely told people about that.
The water guy,
yeah.
hot water guy over here.
Oh, I guarantee it. Oh, yeah.
But here's the deal, guys. You know, I guarantee she's, you know, hanging out with friends, hanging out with Joesty, and they're, you know, sipping tea this winter. And then she's like, you know, there's this guy in Cleveland that just drinks hot water plain. And that's what they do in the Midwest. And she's telling the same story to her friends. So
there's going to be a Weekend Update joke about Cleveland, and he's going to say something like, well, they only drink hot water
they
there
just drink
anyway.
hot water for fun there.
And we're gonna know where that joke was written.
It's gonna happen. Well, Daniel, thank you for sharing that story. I in all seriousness, we're laughing and joking, but it is really cool that you had that experience to be on a set. I think that gives you intimate knowledge of like what it takes to make a movie. And I think when you're on sets like that, it gives you a whole new appreciation, especially for those big budget movies that you were on set for, like how much work it takes to get something made. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible. I mean, watching them film the fight scenes, like it's, setting up for half hour, and then they film for like, it feels like 30 seconds, and then reset and keep going over and over. It's just, you have no idea when you're watching a movie how much goes into it. And being a production assistant, like just watching, it was pretty mind opening. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that, a segment as our Scarlett Johansson correspondent, Daniel, and expert. We appreciate it. We will definitely continue to talk about her for the rest of the episode. All right, friends, let's go dive in to this film and what we know so far and kind of break it down and discuss. Again, the reason why we don't like to do newsworthy content is that every time we record in real time, inevitably, once we stop recording, news will break. So I'm sure the teaser trailer will come out as soon as I hit stop on the recording or I post this and it goes up. So anyway, as a forewarning, listeners, viewers, this episode is going to be as raw as a T-Rex's breakfast. And we're just going to try to get it posted as soon as possible. So thank you for bearing with us. Okay, friends, let's get to what we know so far. We have a title. Officially a title. I think we can all say this is officially the title. Jurassic World, Rebirth. Rebirth. Interesting title. I don't think I've ever seen Rebirth used for a film title that I know of. I know DC had a run of their comics that was called DC
Doesn't
Rebirth.
Alien have a Rebirth?
No, there's two there's Halloween Resurrection and Alien Resurrection has been used. I can't think of a Rebirth besides the DC Rebirth comic line. Daniel, do you know any other Rebirths?
I don't. No,
There's a
movie. I did not
movie.
realize that, but no, I don't.
Reborn? I feel maybe there's a Reborn.
There's a movie that came out in 2016 called Rebirth.
Okay. No, I mean like in
a
franchise,
okay.
not just
Sorry.
Not helpful. Not helpful. Okay, we know who the director is. It's directed by Gareth Edwards. We actually talked about it in our episode in the spring, which Mike actually, before we started recording, thought we had recorded a couple days ago. We actually recorded it like 6 months ago. But we talked about Gareth Edwards, also written by David Cope, returns from the original. It is coming out in July 2025, which is 9 months away.
Yeah.
Is that math correct?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness.
But you know what's crazy is it's right after Dead Reckoning Part 2 comes out, isn't it?
I don't know. Do they have the July date officially?
Oh, I thought Dead Reckoning was like May 20 something.
Well, okay, when I say right after, keep in mind I also thought we
that's true. Okay.
I cannot trust Mike's actual like calendar math.
It's May 23rd, which is like, to me, July.
That's
like,
the same. It's all the
July,
same thing.
It's right after. It's happening within a couple months. Okay, guys.
Either way, it is going to be a amazing summer. I mean, to have a Mission Impossible movie and a Jurassic movie within a couple of months of each other is pretty cool. So we know it's coming out next summer. Barring delays. I know we can't say that guaranteed. I feel like in Hollywood, we've learned in the last 4 years that there could be things that delay it. But as far as we know, it's supposed to come out in July of next year.
I bring up the Dead Reckoning point only to say and reinforce the point this has happened very quickly, because we knew about Dead Reckoning Part 2, like like they were in post-production like 3 years ago with that. So we know
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty crazy. Like they're still working on, and again, we had the writer's strike in there, but they're still working on this two-part Mission Impossible films, and we somehow snuck a Jurassic film in between. It's pretty wild. And then we just learned that is they've officially wrapped filming. So that is also something that we can confirm. There's multiple sources that have confirmed it, and I believe Frank Marshall, who's the producer, produced uh, all the Spielberg films, Lucas films. He posted about it, I think, on his Instagram. I think that was the official source. Again, we're trying to be accurate here. We are trying to be late to the party, accurate journalists. Like Ricky Bobby says, if you're not first, you're last. So we're definitely last, but we're going to be accurate as best as we can. Okay, you guys want to hear the synopsis? I don't think, Mike, have you read the synopsis? Is this
Well,
a cold
before
read for you?
it is going to be a cold read, but I also, in my preparation for this podcast, which I
How
did the
much
other day,
how much did you prepare?
I'm I read that Edwards, he had planned to take a directorial break before this.
Interesting.
He wasn't gonna, he had no projects lined up, and he was going to take a break. And then when he was approached, he's like, I need to do this. I need to direct this movie.
Interesting.
His quote was, I was about to take a break and I started writing my next idea for a film, and this is the only movie that would make me drop everything like a stone and dive right in.
Sounds like a
Wow.
good paycheck from Universal.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the creative freedom in working with David Cope. So but yeah, that's interesting. Okay, you ready, Mike, to hear this? This is the official Universal back of the VHS description of this new film, Jurassic World: Rebirth. Are you
Let's
ready?
go. Let's go.
5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The three most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life saving benefits to humankind. Johansson plays a skilled covert operations expert, Zora Bennett, contracted to lead a skilled team on a top secret mission to secure genetic material from the world's three most massive dinosaurs. When Zora's operation intersects with a civilian family whose boating expedition was capsized by marauding aquatic dinos, they all find themselves stranded on an island where they come face to face with a sinister, shocking discovery that's been hidden from the world for decades. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'll run through the stars and then we'll dive in. This film is starring, as we mentioned, Scarlett Johansson as Zora Bennett, Rupert Friend as Martin Krebs, who is what we think the big pharma representative who's kind of financing or supporting this mission. Ed Screen is in this. Jonathan Bailey as Dr. Henry Loomis, not Dr. Loomis from the Halloween franchise. I was very confused, but also excited when I saw that. And then Mahershala Ali as Duncan Kincaid, who is, we believe partners with Zora Bennett. Those two characters as we get together. And then Manuel Garcia Ruffalo, who's a great character actor. He's in a lot of good stuff. Is Ruben Delgado and he's the father of that family that we mentioned. So, gentlemen, we that's all we know so far. We probably expect either a teaser trailer to come out as soon as I post this episode, or more likely during the holidays. That's usually when you get the big summer blockbuster trailers, is during the holiday season when people are going to see kind of those holiday movies. So we probably are going to expect a trailer around then, but you never know. You never know. Sometimes there's like a random Monday night football, or I guess this would be probably a Sunday night football game that sometimes they just like, oh, we're going to release a trailer and here it is. So it could either be a Sunday night football game or during the holidays. You just never know. All right, friends, I've been talking a lot. First reactions to the synopsis, to the cast, to the title. Jump in, dive in. Mike, first off, I mean, that's the first time you've heard it.
Yeah, it
Oh no. Oh no.
sounds a
Oh
lot
no.
like Avatar. Did you
Interesting.
guys seen the second Avatar?
I've not notoriously not seen the
Okay,
second
so
Avatar. I don't believe
spoiler
I'm
alert.
done with blue people running around in James
Spoiler
Cameron.
alert on Avatar, The Way of Water. Uh, they there's this whale, essentially this whale creature. Daniel, have you seen this?
Oh, I saw it opening night. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so there's this whale creature that has like this brain juice that if they extract it from the whale, it like is like the cure-all drug. It's like this perfect drug. So it's just it's sounds a lot like that.
Interesting. I never would have thought Avatar 2, but I can see that connection a little bit. I immediately think more like Jurassic Park 3 or
You know, it's so funny, Daniel. There's no record of this because I don't think we mentioned it on an episode, but we wanted to bring you in to talk about this new movie no matter what. I think it's just crazy that this movie sounds a lot like JP3 with an isolated island. We're back to an island where you have a family trying to do a rescue mission, and just like the production timeline of like this being fast and this kind of new thing, it does feel a lot like JP3, and I think that's actually a really good thing. But it is kind of like crazy that they had so many things they could have done, and they're going back to seems like a very contained formulaic type of film.
yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was real when I first read it however many months ago. Like I'm like, that can't be what it's about because that's like Jurassic Park 3 essentially. And why would they do this? It's a strange way to go. I know there's more to it, but to advertise it that way and like say this is the storyline, it's kind of surprising to me because like you could just not even mention the family, you know, crashing on the island or whatever. It's a strange thing to include, but
It is, yeah, especially for the franchise fans. We're like, oh, JP3.
yeah, it does feel like a step back when you say it like that. But I mean, I do trust, the writer David. I say Cap, you say Cope.
Yeah,
I call him Cap, but I
I
mean,
trust you.
but don't trust me too much. I mean, but let's say David Cap. I mean, he did the first, Jurassic Park and the Lost World, and supposedly he came up with the idea of a rescue mission for Jurassic Park 3. When they were working on the script, that's
Oh,
the story is that
that's right.
he didn't like write it, but he came in and said, "Hey, just you're thinking too much. Make it very simple. Plane crashes. They got to get off the island." Like so, and he didn't write that. So I wonder. This feels like he's almost writing what Jurassic Park 3 could have been or something like that. Just
So
that
he's
kind of
been kind of
storyline.
sitting on and simmering on ideas and bringing
I
that
mean,
back.
I, maybe not. I mean, you figure if you're that involved with working with Michael Crichton back in the '90s, like the source material far better than anybody else alive at this point, right? So when you bring him on for a new Jurassic Park movie, it's like, has he been thinking about this for the last 20 years? Maybe. Either way, he knows. I assume there's a lot more to the story, and I'm hoping it feels more like Michael Crichton, like stuff you'd read in the novels, and get back to talking about like science and theories, that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, my first thought was kind of like it's just strange. I'm also hoping for a Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic World movie, where there's no kids. I don't need kids in movies anymore
I
because they're gonna be fine, right?
thought Maisie had this secret DNA to solve all the world's issues.
Yeah, there's that. It's also
Yeah.
shocking they're jumping ahead 5 years, right?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a huge gap of like story. And I remember Daniel, we were talking about that. It's like, are we going to get we talked about them doing either a prequel of Maisie's mom and going all the way back, or
Yeah.
having we thought her character was kind of going to be, okay, that's where you go next. That's the next generation. That's to expand on the world, but they're almost like retreating from it.
Yeah, just kind of starting over as if like Dominion didn't really exist, right?
Yeah, it feels like a retcon.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like, I think that's one of the challenges that the Jurassic World franchise created is like they created this massive quote unquote world, and it was so hard to tie all these loose ends, and they almost wrote themselves into a hole. So I understand. I think from a movie making standpoint, it makes sense to scale back. I've always advocated for, can we just get, I would love to just see like 5 people trapped in a cabin with one raptor. Like that's the movie I want to see. Like I want to make the dinosaurs scary again. But I understand like it's a Jurassic movie. It's not a Jurassic Peacock series.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the novels, I just love both novels so much, and they're a little bit more graphic than the movies, but one day we'll get there. I think it's just impressive that they are putting this movie out so soon with, I mean, Gareth Edwards, I love him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it seems pretty solid. I assume they were working on this like while Dominion was being shot. I mean, I think Dominion was supposed to come out in 2021 initially
That's right.
and delayed.
That's
So they
right.
might have at that point already been planning this movie.
It seems like they did, and either there was a story, or obviously the director stuff kind of changed hands a little bit. I think that's where it feels fast, because I feel like we were last fall even. I did feel like very recently the director issue was kind of the storyline, but now it's like, oh, we're everything's fine. So it seems like maybe they had talked about it and had at least a story or idea that they were going to go back to this. Maybe they were like, okay, we bloated this storyline too much. We need to go back to the island. We do have they released 2 photos. If you're listening right now, I'll describe them. It's Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey, and it looks like foliage staring at something with wonder. Scarlett Johansson has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, not like 9 earrings in her ear, which is pretty cool. So I think she's supposed to be more of like a tough like ops person. And then we have Mahershala Ali looking very terrified with a flare. So we're getting some flare action back into the franchise at night. He's in his commando outfits. He looks very terrified. So that's really all we have, and then we have the logo, which is it's our traditional T Rex head with Jurassic World Rebirth, and then we have some palm tree foliage kind of symbolizing the island, and it's more of a blue bluish orange type of, so it's almost more like a mixing of Dominion and the Jurassic World color scape. It's not, they're not going totally back to the red
It kind of
and
looks like a sunrise to me when
yeah,
I see
yeah,
both.
it's kind of like Rebirth, it's not a resurrection, it's a rebirth. It's a rebirth. Mike, what are some other things that stand out in this cast, or even the plot?
I'm reading, yeah, I was, as you guys were talking, I was reading the synopsis, and a couple things stand out to me. One is it says the planet's ecology has proven inhospitable to dinosaurs. Yeah, no freaking duh. Um, those remaining exist on this equatorial environments. So like the islands,
This seems like there's more than one island, but maybe they're only going
well,
to
there's always been two.
yeah.
So and then this idea that there's something sinister hidden for decades. Well,
What do we
uh,
think that is? Do we think Biosyn has some done? Is this, are we going back to InGen? Are we going back? Are we going to say InGen made this facility? Are they going to pull stuff in with Fallen Kingdom with the co-founder of InGen? Like, what do you guys think?
I think they got to be careful, in my opinion. As far as I'm emotionally tied to characters and plot lines in this franchise, they have to be careful on what if they go the InGen route, um, and reveal something sinister about InGen. They got to be really careful to insulate Hammond from it. I feel, because Hammond is has naivete, and if you were to uh I guess reveal something that he was somehow involved with, some sort of cloning and mass killing of dinosaurs to harvest and try to research this drug, that I think would be a character assassination.
Yeah,
Um,
that's closer almost to the book Hammond, but the film Hammond is, we've talked about, he's
yeah,
Walt Disney. He's Walt Disney. He's
yes.
this idealistic grandfatherly type of character.
And
Um,
I've always appreciated. I I know some people, they read the books and they're like, oh, I want the book, I want the movie to resemble the books. I've actually always appreciated that Jurassic Park was such a neat idea that these two dissimilar kind of worlds existed at the same time and under the
mhm.
same exact concept. So I was always able to enjoy the books for what they were and enjoy the movies for what they were. So I'd understand it if they made Hammond a little bit more sinister, but it would be, to me, I wouldn't like it as far as the movie franchise goes.
Yeah, I just hope they don't do a deep fake like CGI. Ah, gosh, I would walk out of the theater.
No,
That's
you
just
wouldn't.
no, I
You
wouldn't.
wouldn't
But
walk out.
no, I wouldn't, especially if I was with
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. In fact, not only would he not walk out of the theater, Daniel, he would come back from the movie and be like, I think it's an 8 out of 10.
My theater bias is strong. Daniel, what do you think? What's your prediction? What's your instinct? What's your gut tell you? I mean, you have been in the mind of the people who make these movies. You have gone through the details. You've gone through the scripts. Like, what's your instinct?
Okay, my instinct is, and this is not a positive one, is the John Sayles Jurassic Park 4 script with the human dino
Mm,
hybrids, right?
wow.
And I'm really hoping that's not what it is. But I mean, when you really think, what is this shocking discovery that's been hidden from the world for decades? I mean, I don't know what else. It's some kind of experimentation, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, but it
Mm,
also feels like, I think with Jurassic Park 3, the shocking secret is that what they were still making dinosaurs on the island in secret.
yes.
And it's like, is it something like that? Are they just making more dinosaurs? And then I don't really know. I feel like it's not going to live up to this shocking secret. Like, what could it possibly be, right?
You're probably right. That feels like, and not to spoil, have you guys seen Alien Romulus?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Romulus was in a similar territory where it was a sequel. It's like, what's another shocking thing you can put in? And it feels like there's some similarities there. I kind of just spoiled it for you, Mike, but
Thanks a lot. It came out like this year, so thanks a lot.
yeah, but yeah, that's probably a good call. I think it's got to be something like that. It seems like they are trying to move away from the last three films and to create a rebirth. But it's funny that they still use the world tagline, right? I think that's what's interesting. I thought maybe they would go down a park, but I guess the park implies the park, like the actual like theme park, not necessarily world is like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting that the plot seems to be moving away from what they've done in the last three films. Yeah, they're still using world as a tagline, but maybe that's a marketing thing. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know. I mean, the obvious thing, I'm sure at the time when we recorded 2 years ago, would be that they were going to pick up with the same kind of setting, right? Dinosaurs everywhere. That just seemed like the obvious thing to do. So it just, I don't know. I'm still just, I'm very intrigued. I'm curious, and I really have no idea where it's going, because I feel like it's got to be something more interesting than the way they describe this plot.
Right. Right. And
There
this
is
is this is like the Universal Studios plot. I mean, like this was probably looked over by 20,000 people. I mean, this was probably went through the ringer. It went through lawyers. It went through executives. So like we cannot pin our hopes and dreams and our like vision of what this movie will be on a couple paragraphs from a corporation. But it just is interesting. Like there's so many things they could have done with quote unquote the Jurassic World they set up, and to just immediately 5 years after the events of Jurassic World Dominion, the planet's ecology has proven largely hospital to dinosaurs. Like that's just like okay, retcon. Like we're not going to deal with that, at
Yeah.
least now.
Have you guys seen I was looking for news on the movie and there's a Screen Rant article about it's ranking the 10 rumors
Oh
regarding
boy.
this
Oh
movie.
boy, this sounds like journalism accuracy right here on
So we
Screen
don't
Rant.
we're not going to go through them all, but interestingly, number one and number two were both mentioned by us
Oh,
previously.
that's a great article actually. It's very accurate.
So
What a great source.
number two is my comment about how I think it sounds a lot like Avatar, The Way of Water. And then number one is that it will introduce human dinosaur hybrids.
I think it's gonna happen. I mean, Spielberg, I think, really wants it to happen, right?
Yeah, if that's the one studio note is like, and I guess to me, you can do it. You can do it in a clever way where, and I think that's where they're going with the pharma idea is like, okay, they're trying to inject people with something that helps them,
It's it
regrow.
what's the stupid
Wait,
company in Spider-Man?
oh yeah, well that's exactly what character is that? The lizard character in Spider-Man.
But the
Oh,
company
no, Oscorp.
Oscorp?
Oscorp.
Oscorp? Yeah.
Dr. Connors, who's the lizard. That's what
Oh.
he is essentially. He's trying to regrow his arm using genetic material from different animals. So it's not like this new concept. I mean, it's very much in genre filmmaking and genre storytelling of like
Well, we know
using animal
that
DNA and then turning
in
yourself into a
exactly.
monster.
Well, the whole that whole thing is that reptiles have this regenerative feature.
Yes, yes.
And
So it
so
makes sense.
uh
I'm fine. Yeah, whatever. But
if
I'm
we
more
just
excited,
lower our
honestly.
expectations, we'll be fine.
Honestly, I'm more excited about this new cast. That I'm so glad, blessings to Chris Pratt. But I'm so glad we are done with the Owen Claire stuff. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
oh, I it just like, man, I could have had them just out of Dominion and that would have helped that movie. But I'm so glad we're getting just all new characters, and to get these type of actors on this project is a win. I don't care what happens with the storyline. I think all these actors are going to elevate it. I mean, to get Mahershala Ali to make this is crazy. For him to make a Jurassic movie before he makes a Blade movie is insane. When he's been trying to make this Blade movie done for 10 years, it feels like, and it might not happen. So it's just like blows my mind that we're getting him in a franchise that's Jurassic before Blade. I mean, it's so cool to get that. I mean, we have multiple Academy Award nominee actors. Well, he won. He's a winner.
Yeah.
I think he's a
Yeah, he went for
two-time winner, isn't
Moonlight.
Yeah, he won for Moonlight, and then Scarlett. She's been nominated. I don't think she's won.
he? Yeah, I don't think so.
Daniel, you're our Scarlett Johansson
I don't
expert.
think she's won.
Mahershala
I don't think
Ali
so.
has won 2 Oscars, one for Moonlight, and did he win for Green Book?
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I mean, to get that type of talent, I know they're getting paid a lot of money, but to get that type of talent is, and that's no. I'm not saying. I think we've had great, obviously, amazing actors in this franchise. Great actors. Obviously, the Trinity being like the bar, but I think to continue that part of the legacy of this franchise is huge. I mean, that's huge for me. And I know we live in a different era where franchises are throwing a lot of money at the best actors in the world, so they can, have their grandkids go to college or buy a new home. But it's still a big win. And to have these type of actors to me that are dramatic actors that can bring an element that can elevate a script, I think is pretty cool. So that's what really gets me excited. Besides this plot line, it's the type of talent that we have. I think having someone like Scarlett Johansson as your lead in the film is huge. Obviously, she was able to do Black Widow, which was an action film, and kind of hold that up, which I actually think that was a really good film outside of like some of the Marvel MCU junk that was kind of thrown in there. I thought that was a really strong film. And it sounds like she's going to take maybe not the same character, but it's an action role. It sounds like she's not a doctor. She's not a corporate CEO. She is essentially a professional soldier doing operations. So it's a cool role for her. I'm excited to see her.
Yeah,
Me
I do
too.
think having these two actors, I think, is obviously the movies garner a lot of attention. They make a lot of money. Each of the last three made over $1 billion, and were highly successful. Um, and so, to that end, the studio can afford to pay big sums to get almost any name they want. But at the same time, these actors are given projects all the time.
Right.
And they get all sorts of scripts, and I'm sure they can command almost any fee they want for any project. So it does lend some credibility to me that they signed up for this. Um, they could take any payday, I suppose.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. And this might be a little bit leading, but Gareth Edwards directed a lot of films, but most notably in the genre films, Rogue One is kind of his one of his
Magnum
big,
opus.
yes, as far as like fans and being able to thread the needle in a huge franchise and make something that is yeah, there's controversy around it. I think it's over time people maybe have soured on it a little bit, but I still think it's probably the best product that has been made out of Disney in the Star Wars era. One of the things that he did in that film was he filled a plot point that was always derided in the original Star Wars, is that how did these rebels how did they create this huge Death Star where all it takes is a little torpedo to like blow it all up? Like that really like the engineers were that rushed where they didn't didn't have any type of fail safe for that. And he essentially like kind of fixed it. He kind of said, "Oh, it was intentionally designed that way as a essentially revenge against the Empire," and that's kind of the whole plot line, and to get the plans and stuff. So he filled the gap in the timeline, and then also like corrected something from the original series. Do you think, or what do you think, if Gareth Edwards could fix something in our franchise timeline in Jurassic with this film, what would it be?
That's a pretty good question. For me, it'd be connecting more to Jurassic Park 3 because I love Jurassic Park 3 and there's so many like unanswered questions. But I mean, that could be just bringing the Spinosaurus back. The Spino's like,
It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
I don't know why they've neglected it so much.
That's another rumor on that Screen Rant article. So
It's a
Yeah.
great art. What a
I'm
great
beginning to
article.
think that Daniel wrote it.
Oh, I would connect it all to JP3. All roads lead to JP3. I mean, yeah, that's the thing with Jurassic World I was kind of let down about. It's just kind of forgetting about JP3 and not really explaining that 14-year gap.
Mm.
Like what really happened during that time period.
Yeah, like we didn't even get that answer fully in Dominion, except for Ellie got divorced. I mean, that was really kind of the big one, but we didn't
Yeah.
really get anything till Dominion, and it still was lacking. So the Spinosaurus, obviously, but what else do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess the question, the big shocking secret. I mean,
You
if
can
it,
you kind of tie it into Biosyn what they were trying to do in Dominion? Is that how you tie it back in?
I would
Because they
think
didn't
so.
mention like we don't know if Biosyn or InGen is involved based on reading this.
Right. Yeah.
I'm probably the only one who actually loves the corporate involvement. So maybe they make a new corporation, but like I'm probably the only one. When we did our Jurassic draft, I wanted to make a Aaron Sorkin-esque walk and talk movie all about
Oh, that'd be
Biosyn
great.
and InGen. So
Biogen.
future that the merger, they've merged.
Yep. I I'm trying to think about plot holes. That I feel like there's there's been a lot of moments, and I think Daniel was mentioning this with the 14-year gap between for JP3. There's
Mm,
I still feel like there's stuff in the franchise that maybe doesn't require an explanation, but there's meat on the bone there. And I think something for me is the only redeeming factor of Fallen Kingdom was Maisie. And I feel
Yeah.
like in Dominion, Maisie was essentially just a totem.
Hmm.
And I felt like I wanted more of
Yeah.
Maisie.
Yeah. If
I
you're going to
felt like
introduce her, why make her this big deal? Why are
so
she's
I
just around?
I don't know. I almost wish that the I almost wish that Scarlett Johansson's character was just an older Maisie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that would be
She's
interesting.
too activist of a character to like be this covert op, so like it wouldn't
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
But that's I don't know.
that would be interesting. Yeah, to tie it in. I think that's a good point, Mike and Daniel. You mentioned that 14-year gap, and it's not necessarily filling or like fixing something like how the Death Star blew up. It's more about, can we explain a little bit more of the lore? And maybe it's not that 5-year gap that they're worried about. Maybe they can go back into that 14-year gap, and that's where we can get some more mystery. Not in a really retcon the Jurassic World trilogy, but essentially go back to
Yeah.
find to pull some lore. And one thing I do think is, I think there's some, especially in Lost World, I think there's some book source material, even from an action sequence, that I think they can pull out, that rereading the books within the last couple of years, especially for this podcast, there's some material that they can pull out there as far as sequences that I would like to see. Um, Especially, is it in Lost World? Correct me if I'm wrong. Were the dinosaurs that are camouflaged?
Yeah, Lost World.
That is that to me. I was like, how have they not done this scene yet? They've had 6 movies and they haven't done the scene. It's such a cinematic scene. So I would like to see something like that pulled back. If he's gonna source from and go back and look at what he has in his lore bank as far as a franchise, maybe pulling a scene from the book, something from the book, or drawing from that for 14 years. I would really like to see um maybe the dad, or maybe like the Kirby empire has grown so much that it's now this like part of this, like it's like a P&G type of corporation that's like grown. It started out as this tile company in the middle of nowhere. Now they're this huge conglomerate. I just would love to see that if they are like involved somehow. Now they're a pharmaceutical company.
I mean, there needs to be some kind of reference to the Kirby's. I mean, they
How has
have.
it has to happen. It has to happen.
I hope so. I mean, I assume they lost their store at this point, though.
No, 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 no,
You don't
no.
think Udesky's family has sued Paul Kirby, or Nash's family, or Cooper's family, or even do you think Alan Grant is just like cool with them now? I mean, what about like they're just lawsuits?
I'm guessing Paul Kirby has tried to hang out with Alan Grant multiple times,
Oh, for
and
sure.
Alan Grant has not picked up his
Just calls
calls.
them up. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we'll get it. There has to be an Easter egg. There has to be a mug or something there that just give it to us. We need a little service. It would be great.
Yeah, I know. I think I talked about it. And I think Stephen Ray Morris, the See Jurassic World podcast, talked about it. How this is like pre-Dominion. We were hoping that they'd be at Alan Grant's house and you'd see his bathroom and it was just like incredible. And you knew that the Kirby's had fixed it up for him. But
Yeah.
of course, we never got that. That's something like simple that like a fan would get, but you need
Yeah.
to like make a big deal about it.
No, it wouldn't be this overtly like MCU type of fan service. It would be more subtle. I think they could do it.
They should have. You did mention camouflage, and they did it a little bit with the Indominus Rex
Yeah.
That's
in Jurassic
true.
World,
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's a good point.
but it's not. I mean, the Lost World novel, yeah, there's a lot left. They can just you could like
It's right
flip
there.
flip to any page, you're gonna find something that wasn't in the movies yet. There's
Yeah,
so
I just
much
think
there.
that's from a source material. If you're going back, if like we think about the writer who, like we mentioned, he worked intimately with Crichton, you gotta think he's gonna go back and look at those books and say, "Ooh, we got some stuff that's just simmering here that Colin Trevorrow didn't touch at all." Even though he
Yeah,
was said he was a super fan, especially just cinematic scenes. That's what Crichton was so great at. He wrote a lot of books that just are so adaptable to cinema. We mentioned some of the legacy characters. As far as we know, so far we know, no legacy characters in this new film. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's a good thing at this point. I do expect someone to show up, right? At least one person, small role, um, or at least in some like kind of not flashback, but like I think the way they used Maisie's mom, like in the video recordings, was pretty cool, and
Yeah,
it did kind of like I think it was like 2007. I forget what year it was on the video, but I mean something
right.
like that.
It was
I
like
mean,
early 2000s. It was like
yeah,
post JP3 kind of.
yeah, that's the closest we had to filling in that 14-year gap. But I mean,
That's
there
right.
could be something like that. I don't know, but I do expect somebody.
Do you think Henry will, Dr. Wu will come back? Because I just feel like he might be the one that's so easy to slot in, but they already kind of made a joke about it.
How is he not in jail at this point?
Well, Ian Malcolm says that in Dominion. He says, "No, no, 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 not this guy." Or he says something like that. Jeff Goldblum, this, not this guy. It's always this guy. Why is he here? Yeah, it seems like they probably will. I do think with Fallen Kingdom, that's one of the best parts is where they use Ian Malcolm. He's at the like a judiciary hearing. I think that's a really nice way to use a legacy character. They can obviously do references, but like having Maisie's mom with the videos. One that I just rewatched. Speaking of Dr. Loomis, I just rewatched Halloween 2018, and they used. I think they adapted maybe some deleted scenes. They maybe used a little bit of AI voice stuff. When the podcasters, I don't know if you've seen this film, when the podcasters are reviewing materials of the original Halloween case, because they retcon everything after the first one, you can hear Dr. Loomis at a trial hearing, but it's through a analog digital or tape recorder. So it sounds muffled and it was a nice homage, but not necessarily like a deep fake, which is to me, even Indiana Jones, the latest Indiana Jones, like I thought that was the best looking deep fake they've done. And it still takes you out of it. So as long as they don't do that with Hammond or something, I think I'm fine.
Well, I do know there's a bunch of John Hammond like audio recordings from like a video game.
Well, they have that. And did he do stuff for the actual park? I don't know, Mike. I'd have to bring you in here for expertise.
I'm sure he did stuff.
I mean,
You're
there's
talking
enough
about
of
if they hired Attenborough to do stuff for like rides at Universal.
yeah. I'm just curious if they have some of that stuff in the rights. I guess it would be on his estate what they would let you do and not do. I mean, I think that's the thing we're learning is a lot of these estates are like, how much you're gonna pay us? Oh yeah, sure. AI the crap out of that.
There's I'm just kind of scrolling through this Screen Rant article. They do talk about
Great
the like
article. Great article,
yeah,
by the
yeah.
way.
They do
It was
talk about we should link it in the description.
they're gonna expect that we just
Uh,
are like reading it off. Like we just did it.
they do talk about legacy characters, and one of the legacy characters they talk about, and I'm calling him a legacy character, is Owen Grady. Um,
Good God.
and they
Oh,
what they
please
say
no.
is that, and I mean I haven't been in touch with the news, so I can neither confirm or deny this, but they say that filming is underway right now. So this was obviously written over the summer. And there have been so many leaks from the set that there's no way the producers could keep it a secret if Pratt had a major role.
I agree
So
with that. I agree with
uh,
that. Going back to when Daniel was talking about being on set and it's very hard to hide when an actor shows up. I think
so
Chris Pratt's been on his farm and doing the things that he does. So
yeah,
I'm not worried.
to that end, I don't see a legacy character showing up unless it's as I could see them like this is the scenario I could see it happening where um, if because if in the secret that they uncover that there's um, recordings of them trying to do experiments and you see like
Owen and
Henry
Claire
Wu
doing or
or
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
or you see an interview or research being conducted and Goldblum is there in the back,
Yeah.
like some sort of cameo like that, where it's not an actual like screen cameo.
Mhm.
It's more of like a archival footage
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I would really like to see a Lowry played by Jake Johnson come back, and it just be like he hosts a podcast now talking about it, and he's like conspiracy theories, like he's talking about the dinosaurs. That's my cameo that I would like to see. Is
I would
like
be fine with that. Actually, if Jake Johnson came back as like
he's like hosting this pod
very
because that's
limited,
his thing.
yeah.
He's essentially they put a fan in a movie, like he's just a fan of the franchise, and they just put him in the movie, and they're like, oh, you're the IT guy. Daniel, you like it. I know you like it. You're like, oh, that's not bad. That's not
I have
bad.
many
One of
thoughts
the
about
rumors,
this.
one of the rumors that we didn't get to that's in this
Sponsored by Screen Rant.
but I thought this was interesting, is that there will be T-Rex siblings.
Mm,
I don't know.
okay.
Kind of interesting.
Some sibs.
Yeah, why not?
Is okay. This might be our last because we're getting close here on time, but this might be my last question, and then we'll do kind of final thoughts. Are there, besides the already mentioned dinosaur, are there other dinosaurs or dinosaur situations? I know we talked about it a little bit that you would like to see in this film. I'd have to pull up my list of dinosaurs from our draft episode. It's like 20 spreadsheet pages long. It's crazy. We're going to get some amphibious. We'll probably get some amphibious dinosaurs because it's mentioned. So we're going to get attack, whether it will be on screen or off screen. We don't know.
I mean, we've seen flying dinosaurs, we've seen swimming dinosaurs.
Is there really only one answer for this?
Yeah.
The Spino. Okay. That's all we need.
Yeah,
That's all. Really, it is. Like, dude,
That's all I care about.
Because I feel like here's my thing outside of the Spinosaurus, which I think is like, if they don't do it, I don't know why they're making this movie, to be honest. Like, outside of the characters and blah blah blah, if like they don't have the Spino in this movie, why are they making it? That's my headline.
Why have they not included the Spino in the past 3 films?
Because Colin Trevorrow, sometimes I don't know what he's thinking.
Well, was Derek Connolly, his writer from Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, I think. For sure, Jurassic World. He had said he had never seen the sequels.
Yes.
I mean,
which is I get it. It's like, oh, we want to be original. We don't want to like pull, but it's like, okay, you're
we want to be original, but instead all of our plot points are just going to be about creating new breeds of dinosaurs. Like, yeah, good job, bro. You did a real good job being original.
So Spino for sure. I think we're all on board. I do trust these filmmakers and writer. I believe they're smart enough to do that. I would like to see a little bit pulled back on the Raptors. I think with the World franchise, we just got. I mean, I'm so glad with Dominion they pulled back Blue, but I would like to get back to the Raptors we know and love, which to me are like, they don't have to be the main characters like a Blue. That's why I do in Lost World. I love them because it's part of a planned scene with don't go in the long grass. Like that's when I love the Raptors being used. They don't need to be the main focal point of the dinosaur. We know they're there. We know they're coming as fans, but I love when they're used in a situation that's cinematic, that's tense, that's scary. So as long as we get a Raptor scene like that, I don't need them to be talking or crying or like cohabiting with Chris Pratt, but I would love to have them as part of the action sequence where we feel like, oh, as fans, like, oh shit, here come the Raptors, like where we kind of forget about them and then like they show up and like, oh no, our human characters are in it now. So that's my one other dino dream for Rebirth. So all right, friends, final thoughts. I want to go around the horn. Give me your raw October 2024 Jurassic World Rebirth hopes, dreams, kind of final word before we chat again, before we get more information from this movie. How are you feeling? Where do you want to go? Let's start with Michael.
Um, yeah, I'm still kind of like in shock that this is happening so quickly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you thought you were like, hey, we just got a director, and then they filmed it over the summer.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm a fan, so I'm excited that there's more content. I really expected them not to go the movie route next, but like some
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of like show, like CSI Dinosaurs, something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, we I think we all talked about a the dinosaur organization CSI show was on the table of just
Yeah.
like basically just having like David Caruso like lead a team and like
Dinosaur related crimes.
basically monster of the week and just have it be like, oh, hey, we got to trap this dinosaur. Where is he? Oh, he's stuck in a building. Let's like do it. And it's kind of like an Animal Planet show meets CSI. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want. Honestly, that's what I wanted, but
I'm
I'll take
surprised they
this.
didn't. I'm just shocked that like Peacock was like, we that's what we need and want. But here's the deal: Peacock has and Universal has struggled with this with original franchise show content. They got the John Wick one, but the Friday the 13th one has been an absolute disaster. So it might be not part of the strategy. I interrupted you, Michael.
No, I'm excited for it, but my MO with the Jurassic franchise uh for the last 15 years has been set my expectations low so that, you know, I don't
You don't get
get
hurt.
disappointed. Yeah, I don't get hurt. Yeah.
So you enjoyed it in the theater and you're not frustrated. I think that's the
Yeah.
important thing. As
Yeah.
fans, it's not being frustrated. Daniel, what are you feeling as of now, October 2024, 9 months away for
I know
Jurassic
it's
World
only, I think,
Rebirth?
273 days away.
Jeez.
So it's just, I mean, the bar is pretty high at this point. I'm feeling very optimistic, but they could fade away real quick with a trailer, right? Because I have
It's
no
such a
idea
big
what to
part of it.
expect.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Gareth Edwards, whatever movie he would make, it's probably gonna be a decent movie, right? I mean, so that I have a lot of faith in him. Um, yeah, Spino, bring that back. Legacy characters don't really need them, but I expect one to come back. Um, I was talking about the John Hammond recordings on YouTube. It's Jurassic Time, and on the YouTube channel, there's like the Jurassic John Hammond memoirs. I think it's from either Trespass or some Jurassic video game. I should know more about this, but I don't. But it's like you can listen to John Hammond talking about the island and dinosaurs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they use something like that in some way. But then again, I really don't know what to expect. I just have the bar set pretty high, and I hope I don't get disappointed. But I have more optimism than I did for like even Fallen Kingdom, which
Mm.
that let me down pretty big. But I mean, Dominion, I brought the bar back up, and I don't hate Dominion. It's not bad. It should have been a lot better. I mean, for most people, it was $1 billion disappointment, which is never a good thing. But I mean, because if it was a good movie, like a great movie, it could have made 500 million more easily. It's just like you had all these great characters, great cast, and kind of dropped the ball on that one. But I'm staying optimistic with this. David Kep, Gareth Edwards. I mean, Scarlett.
Great team.
Yeah, that's all I need.
I love how me and Daniel are on a little bit opposite ends of the
Yeah.
spectrum here as far as expectations go.
Yeah, it's two different personalities
Was it
coming
Daniel?
together.
You said that your opinion could change depending on the trailer.
Oh
What
yeah.
if they release a trailer with a narration and in a world narration, would that instantly take it up a notch or down a notch?
That would break my heart. I'd be heartbroken. I mean, I don't.
I secretly want that.
If Chris Pratt is narrating the trailer, that would probably be a no for me. That would
I want a narrated trailer.
if I see his face. I mean, again, I don't. He's a punching bag, right, in pop culture. So I don't want to like. He's done some awesome stuff, but like his character specifically as Owen is, I just do not want to see him at all in this. So that's my. I do not want to see him in a trailer. They might do it like a 5 years ago. It's been 5 years since Dominion, and maybe he'll be in there. That's okay, but no new footage.
I mean, real quick, have either of you watched Jurassic World like recently?
I haven't watched it in a while.
Mike, what do you
I
think
have.
of it? Do you still enjoy it?
It,
I do because there's so much nostalgia for me in it. So but I definitely my awareness to the issues are far more heightened now as that I'm removed from like where I was when I first saw it, if that makes sense.
That's
Yeah, I think for me it's also it definitely feels like an era of that we'll look back on and be like, oh, this is when all these franchises were restarting and it was just like, let's throw as much nostalgia in a movie as possible.
yeah.
So there are some sequences in that movie that I do think are awesome. And that goes to both all the Jurassic World movies. There's some sequences that I think are stellar. It's more just like throughout the actual whole movies. Um, I think the first is one of the more competent ones. It's there's some stuff with Claire, the way the character is written, and please listen to our Jurassic World episode where we hash that stuff. So, what about you? Have you watched it recently?
I don't need to, Luke. It haunts me every day of my life. Listen, and here's the problem as a Jurassic fan, like I have an addiction. Like
Yes.
they know I do, and they just feed me. They can feed me trash, and I'll eat it, right? So with Jurassic World, I mean, it broke my heart, like just just broke it, you know. But I
Yeah.
saw it, 4 days in a row, probably like 3 or 4 days in a row, because like it's there, and you want to see it on the big screen. And, I own it, and it's like I enjoy watching. But there's so many moments in that movie that I just shake my head, or just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm baffled by. I mean, we talk about Jake Johnson, his character, like his character. Last time you see him, he just like turns the lights off. It's like, well, where'd he go? There could
We
be a
don't
whole
know.
movie trying to
Maybe
explain
we need
both.
to
Like
find out. Maybe we need
he's
to find out in Rebirth.
he just all the dinosaurs are loose right now, chaos. But I'm gonna shut it down. All right,
I did my
no,
job.
yeah, no,
Very
don't get me
Nedry of
started.
him.
Yeah,
But
it is.
I do like it. But anyways, I'll stop there. I'll stop
Well, it's exciting. I'm excited that we have this movie. Again, I am shocked like that this just re-listening to our conversation 2 years ago, it just blows my mind. And I guess that's modern movie making. Like these projects can move really fast if the money's right, if things go right. I'm very hopeful. I'm more on the Daniel side where I'm hopeful because we haven't heard a lot of, and there still could be stuff, but we haven't heard like there's a lot of issues, like reshoots, dissension. This seems like it was a tight project. I think it's going to be scaled down because of that, because this movie happened so quickly and it seems like there wasn't a lot of issues. Obviously, we didn't have a worldwide pandemic like No Bit Dominion. I think it's going to be a scaled down movie, which I've kind of been calling for, is a scaled down movie. The dinosaurs are more scarier, where it feels contained, where it feels claustrophobic. We don't have all this world building that we have to tie into. It's just a fun uh, Jurassic movie with intelligence, scares, excitement, all together in a great cast. And it seems like they have a lot of those things. But yeah, we'll have to see with the trailer. Once we see those visuals, I think that will indicate where we're headed in this movie. So it's going to be exciting, and we'll make sure to cover it once that happens. Maybe we'll have you back on, Daniel, to break down the trailer. We'll try to be on top of that as quickly as we can. Again, it might come on a Sunday night football game. We don't know. We'll just have to
Over under on the runtime being an hour 55.
I hope I'm hoping for a 2:10, a 2 hour 10 movie. I hope they learn their lessons from the previous three movies and take a page out of JP3 because there's nothing like a rewatchable Jurassic movie. And I would say the first three movies are all very rewatchable, but JP3, man, it's just so easy to rewatch where the Jurassic World movies are not easy to rewatch. So
My
I'm
thoughts
going
exactly.
210.
Yeah.
I'm going 210. If they could get 80 or 90 minutes, I mean,
They're not going to, but I think it's going to be under 2 hours, but it will be close.
we can only hope. We can only hope. Well, Daniel, where can people find your work? Where can they connect with you? Obviously, stuck on Sorna. We will continue to proselytize it as one of the best deep dives about a movie and the movie making process. Even if you don't like these films, you're not a fan of the franchise. If you like movies and the behind the scenes, you have to listen to this podcast. It is always worth a re-listen. Do it on a road trip. It's such a good deep dive into how movies get made, the lore surrounding them, the ways they could have gone. It's awesome. But where can people connect with you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and X at Stuck on Sorna, and you can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just Google search Stuck on Sorna, you'll find it.
Yes, it's one of our favorites. We're fans of it, and we will continue to talk about it. It's always, especially as we're like getting, it's just so, as I'm saying, it's crazy. As we're getting a new movie, going back and listening how these movies have gotten made, how the behind the scenes, it's so enriching, and it gets you excited, and you get insight into the complex nature of making a Jurassic film, and the things that can go right and wrong. And hopefully we're going to have another movie that has that legacy. Thanks again, Daniel, for joining us. Michael, thank you for showing up and doing research on the fly. And we'll be back, friends, to talk about hopefully a trailer soon.